don't expose a person's sins to the whole church. Try your best to encourage them to overcome that sin themselves. Be your brother's keeper. You see, that's what you see, and that's what it says in that, thou hide not thyself from thine own flesh. If you truly love someone, you're going to draw close to them. You see? So remember, this is the message God is giving to his church, brothers and sisters, to us, to you and I. Because look, church members have become too caught up with their own lives and their own narrow circle of friends to think about and care for others. Righteousness, Christ's love, is not imparted to us by faith if we do not seek his love so that we can impart his love through practically serving others. Okay? And I'm going to read a quote, you see, because we've got to think about this. And I've shared this before. Why do we want to serve Jesus? Why do we want to go to heaven? What is it that draws us to him? What is it about him that attracts us? See? And then when we see his loveliness, we want his loveliness to be in us? Or is it just something that we just love to think about and not see practically worked out? You see? And again, and I see how the Spirit of the Lord is working today. This is again the reason why, after the message of righteousness by faith was given, God's church wasn't ready. Righteousness is holiness, likeness to God, and God is love. That's written in Mount of Blessing. See? So if you want to be righteous, you're asking for God's holiness and for his likeness, for his love to be in your heart. See, so if the church as a whole is not reflecting the love of God, how can God pour out his Spirit? How can end time events be escalated when the love of God is not within God's people's own hearts? You see? But when it is, Isaiah 58 verse 8, when God's church are willing to do as it says, then shall thy light, listen, break forth as the morning. You see, to break forth means with instant power. See, when you break forth, you're suddenly going through something. That's the love of God. His love is aggressive, but in a good way. You see? And look, it says, thine health shall spring forth speedily. That's not just physical health, it's also spiritual health. You see? And look, it says, thy righteousness shall go before thee. The glory of the Lord shall be thy reward. So listen to Mount of Blessing, page 81. And I love this. And I would encourage you to memorize portions like this. Any portion that God reveals to you from the Bible and the Spirit of prophecy that enables you to understand his mission for you clearer. Okay, because all of us are different. As our sister said, she loves the book of John. Because to her, that's more endearing to her. And fine, that's how it should be. That's why the Bible has different books, you see. You know, no one should ever prescribe to anyone exactly what they're to read or study, because we're all different personalities and we've all got different needs. Okay? Now listen to this. This is from Mount of Blessing, page 81. It says, while it is true that God himself is the great reward, again, God is the great reward. There's nothing greater than having his love and power in your heart, brothers and sisters. There's nothing greater. What did Moses say? You know? Show me thy glory. That's all he wanted. The presence of Christ is the most beautiful thing in his life.
Amen.
And if you don't know what it means to have the presence of Christ in your life, you know you're missing it. But if you do, then you know that there's nothing greater. See? So while it is true that God himself is the great reward that embraces every other, the soul receives and enjoys him only as it becomes assimilated to him in character. See? We can only receive God and enjoy him only as we like him. Okay, brothers and sisters? Only like and appreciate like. It is as we give ourselves to God for the service of humanity that he gives himself to us. You see? This is the promise. If we give ourselves to God for the service of humanity, he gives himself to us. But if we don't give ourselves to God for the service of humanity, just like the scribes and Pharisees did, they were serving God for their own selfish interests. That's why they were destitute of the Spirit, and that's why the power of the fig tree, there was no fruit being born. Okay? So here we have the condition. It's a relationship. Even on an earthly level. If husbands and wives don't give themselves to each other, how is that a marriage? You vow to love and serve one another. And the whole life is where you're looking to love that person and to do all that you can to please them. That's on the highest sphere. We should have that relationship with God. You see? Now look, so we have forgotten why we are called to give the three angels' messages to the world. It is to proclaim the investigative judgment, the first angel's message, and to rebuke the selfishness and greed that the professed Christian world have become caught up in. You see, that's why Babylon's fallen. Christian churches have morally fallen spiritual Babylon. They have rejected the truth of God in order to gain riches. How? By working hand in hand with satanic powers. Okay, that's why Revelation 18 is written. That's why the woman's decked with gold and pearls and costly array. You see, where did those riches come from? Theft. See? For itself. So Christian churches have rejected the truth of God, as mentioned, in order to gain riches by working hand in hand with satanic ruling powers. And they will soon receive the wrath of God. Now, if we do not expose and wage a warfare against those who deliberately cause poverty in this world, then what lasting good is it for us to feed the poor and homeless? See? We are dealing with the effect and not the cause. See, brothers and sisters? That's why our movement's been raised up. That's why we've got the last message of mercy to give to the world. So, by feeding those who practice darkness to the neglect of those who are most worthy of help, then we are weakening the church of God and giving more power to Satan. There needs to be a rebalance so that God's soldiers are fully and amply sustained in the work of proclaiming the three angels' messages to the world. Okay, brothers and sisters? The church of God is forgetting that many become homeless and poor within its borders because they have left and given all to serve the Lord and their brethren. And so this is what we need to be praying for. How are we using our means? It's not us. The primary use of our means is to further the work of God. And God's going to test each and every one of us. You see? Because look, many within our Seventh-day Adventist church talk about the seeding and shaking time, but they fail to realize who will be sifted out of God's church. So who? You know, you always hear about this. Again, we've been speaking about this earlier. End time events. But what is the most important thing to understand in relation to the end time events? The shaking, the seeding. What does God say? This is from early writings, page 268. Every selfish, covetous person will fall out by the way. See? Doesn't say every person who accepts the Sunday law. Doesn't say every person who rejects the meaning of the 144,000. Can you see that the truth is personal, brothers and sisters? Like Judas, who sold his Lord, they will sell, listen, good principles and a noble, generous disposition for a little of earth's gain. All such will be sifted out from God's people. Now I'm going to say this again. If you know anyone that all they're considering is work. You with me? Work. Oh, I haven't got time. I've work. You must warn them in love that this is not the way to be living as a Christian. Okay? If our secular matters get in the way of spiritual matters, then Satan has got us. We're under his chain. With me? As Seventh-day Adventists, we've got the last message of mercy to the world. If someone's about to fall off a cliff, you don't just with a small voice and say, no, stop. You shout, stop. We're the ones to be shouting, calling people to stop. And that's going to take every effort. You see? You know? Now that effort is going to be personal as well as practically serving others, my brothers and sisters. Now, listen, the Lord has made it very plain who will make it to heaven in the Seventh-day Adventist church, okay? So my brother, again, we're talking about the church. Listen to the spiritual qualifications of those who are in God's church.